camera collection, and welcome back. This one's a biggie, the Hasselblad. I love this camera, though it's probably my most recent camera in the collection. Why is that? Well, the Hasselblads are some of the more expensive vintage cameras out there, but you probably already knew that. This video is not a review or a demo, just a love letter to the cameras that I have in my collection, and I wish I used more. I've been making photographs since I was about 13, and I joined the photo club in junior high. By the time I was in high school, I was the photo editor in yearbook and spent most of my high school in the darkroom. Around that time, I started to pay attention to what cameras my photo idols at the time were using, and it was usually a Hasselblad. The album art of bands like U2 and Depeche Mode were shot by Anton Corbijn, and he was using a Hasselblad. I really liked the portrait work of Annie Leibovitz, and she was using many cameras, but one of them was a Hasselblad. The portrait and fashion work of Herb Ritts was made with a Hasselblad. And at some point, I saw a show of Mapplethorpe's work, and he used a Hasselblad. And the granddaddy of photography, Ansel Adams, when he wasn't using large format, was shooting with a Hasselblad. They even took a Hasselblad to the moon. At that time, a Hasselblad was way out of my price range, and I was content with my Canon AE1. Later on in college, I was introduced to large format and medium format photography. My favorite was the Rollei TLR, which I eventually bought one. I think the first time I actually got to use a Hasselblad may have been at my internship at a commercial studio. On a slow day, one of the assistants showed me how to load it and told me to grab some film and shoot it. So I did. In college, they did eventually get a Hasselblad, but it was restricted to the grad students. However, I worked in the equipment room, so I was able to get a hold of it a few times. What was it like? I've used many cameras in my life, and this one is the best. There's something about it that comes together mechanically and feels very precise. Looking through the lens and firing the shutter and hearing that massive mirror move out of the way is pretty epic. I still have trouble looking through electronic viewfinders on mirrorless cameras today. For those of you just getting your start in analog photography and you want to make the next step to medium format, this is it. The camera itself is pretty simple, yet elegant. The quality and reliability is what attracted professionals to this camera for decades. Hasselblad comes from Sweden. The lenses they partnered with Zeiss to make for this camera. The box itself it's just a mirror and viewing system. The lens has the aperture and shutter. It's all mechanical, so no batteries are needed. The film magazine is attached to the body, making it easy to switch film stocks or speeds or just shoot faster. I've seen it with a motor drive. This magazine is an A12, which is the standard 6x6 frame. They did make it with a 6x4.5, a 220 film, and even a 70mm film magazine. One of the coolest things about the system is the compatibility across generations of cameras. So this is a 500cm from the 70s, but the magazine, I think this one, is from an older 500C. I just have to remember to cock the magazine after loading it, unlike the newer magazine, which does it automatically. The lens technology may advance, but the mount stays the same. Even today, they have a model of their digital system that can use the lenses from this system. Someday. One of the best features that I found on this camera, unlike other dark slide cameras, is that the Hasselblad shutter will not fire if I have the dark slide in. I've had so many blank frames on my Mamiya press camera. There's a peculiar feature that the camera has, and I've only experienced it once. I had the magazine off and was switching stocks and decided, I think, to switch lenses or something like that. And the shutter fired, locking up the mirror, and I wasn't able to then mount the lens. So I needed to reset that mirror. And I couldn't advance the film. I couldn't do anything to bring that mirror up. So what do? I was on vacation in Palm Springs. I Googled a camera shop, and I came up with a result that actually looks promising. They sold digital Hasselblads and Leicas, so maybe. And sure enough, there was a tech in back that knew what to do and had the tool to reset the mirror. The image quality of this camera is amazing, and I'm always thrilled to dig into the scans from this camera. The only downside to using a 50-year-old camera is that the light seals aren't pristine, as they once were. I did buy a kit and put in some new light traps, but I still get light leaks if the sun is hitting right. I feel like the silver dark slide here reflects light as I'm pulling it out sometimes. I photograph landscapes, which makes the 6x6 camera a strange choice maybe. Something about it works for me. I've been tempted to look for a 645 back, but I never get around to it. The 6x7 and 6x9 cameras are so bulky and even slower lens-wise. I generally use a 50mm, this lens, with a red filter on it, and shoot black and white. I've been tempted to pick up the 40mm or even a super wide 38. Some folks ask me why I shoot with an eye level instead of the waist level finder. And I found that because of my progressive eyeglasses, I wasn't able to actually focus properly. So everything was coming out a little bit soft with this. I picked up one of these and everything's been great. Of all the cameras in my collection, this is my go-to. This is the one I reach for first. Thanks for watching.